Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today, I bring you guys something new, something different, and hopefully something that you enjoy. Today I bring you the Moonlight Guardian, a Khajiit stamina healer, and yes, it is a Warden, and let's get right into it. So we are a Khajiit Warden, and as you can see, we do have 64 into stamina. That is going to give us a lot of our max stat. We do have an 18k health. We do have a 1720 stam recovery, but when we use our pots, we actually go to a 1941 stam recovery. We want that really high stam recovery. As you can see also, we go to a 3116 weapon damage with a 54% weapon critical. That's going to help with our critical heals. Because of not having the type of heals that a typical healer does, we want to have a lot of really good burst heal. So we do have that with this build. Alright. Moving on though. We are using the Ritual Mundus Stone because we do want that increased healing done. We don't have minor... Well, we do have major mending, but we don't have like minor mending on anything. We don't have anything that's boosting our healing besides our CP. And this is going to boost that even more, allowing us to heal for a lot more with our stuff. So, really good. We do have Champions of the Hist set on, the jewelry and the weapons. We want that because we want the greater heals. So this is going to improve our heals again, not just through this, but there's more to it. I'll show you guys. But this is going to allow us to use one of our heals more often, almost constantly. So we also are running Dubious Cameron Throne. We have this for the max stam recovery, and health. We want a higher health pool, so that's where we get the 18k from. But let's go ahead and take a look at our gear. Dubious Cameron Throne is the better food for this. There is another one. It is called Arteum something or other. It is a gold food, and it gives you max health, max stam, health recovery, and stam recovery. It'll put you at about 500 and something, almost 600 health recovery. Because we are a Khajiit, we do get an extra 20% to our health recovery, so we do end up with a lot more. Being a Khajiit, you do get 10% more stam recovery in your passive. So again, really beneficial towards this build. Now, weapon damage might look kind of low, but don't stress it. It goes up, it gets a lot higher, and we'll get to that. Now, moving on to the gear. We are running Sentinels. Sentinels is actually probably by far the best set you can use for a stamina healer. Excuse me. Because whenever you heal a friendly target, you have a 10% chance to summon a Dwemer Spider that heals for 1442 and restores 542 stamina to you and your allies within 5 meters every second for 8 seconds. And you can use this at range. You do not have to be up close to get this to proc. You can proc it anywhere, and most of the time it'll proc right at the boss. So it'll be right there for the tank and the stamina DPS to get that extra return. Now, moving on to the other set we're running, Powerful Assault. You guys should have known this. This is like hands down the set that all stam healers want to run. And since we are a Warden, this set actually plays really well with us because it allows us to also give the 10% health to our allies. We have a passive that allows us to give 10% extra health to our allies, and it does apply to us. And it's really easy. I mean, as soon as you proc your heal, you're going to give that to your allies. And as you can see, I jumped to 20k health now. So, and my weapon damage does improve also. Powerful Assault, though, gives you max health, stamina, weapon damage, and then when you cast an assault ability, you increase the weapon and spell damage of up to 4 friendly targets within 10 meters by 164 for 15 seconds. Now, this build, I'm going to tell you now, is really great for dungeons. I've not tried my stam healer in a trial yet, and I'm kind of leery to because I know how people feel about having certain types of builds in trials, especially if you're going for a competitive in-game run. Like, this would fit in, but it wouldn't really be as good as having 2 healers. Now, this would make a great secondary healer because of the fact that you can give extra weapon damage on top of the major courage. So, now, The other set we're running is, like I said, Champions of the Hist. This is a really good set. As you can see, it gives you a little bit more weapon damage, gives you 2 things of stam, and then grants you minor heroism at all times while you're in combat, generating 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds. So we actually generate 9 ultimate within, I think it's like, or we get 3 ultimate within 9 seconds or something like that. It's pretty good. It helps boost your stamina really fast. Now, moving on to the weapons, we are running dual wield, dual daggers, and a bow. So, going over the traits real quick, and the glyphs or enchants, on the big pieces, you want to use tri-stat. The reason why is you want those extra stats there. Mainly the health and the stamina. The magicka kind of plays well into this, but it's not a major necessity. Moving on, though, on the smaller pieces, you want to run max stam. So you get that higher max stamina pool and everything. And you do want to run divines on everything, especially if you're doing this with a Khajiit. Now, the other reason why I chose Khajiit with this is because Khajiits get 8% critical, weapon critical. So that applies to stamina heals. And most of our heals are stamina-based, except for one, which is ultimate-based. But it does work off of our max weapon damage and our max stam, so still works off of that stuff, which is really good. So kind of a nice trade-off there. Now, moving over to the traits on the jewelry, we are running 2 robust with weapon damage enchants, and then 1 infused with the stam recovery. The reason for the stam recovery is you want to get your stam recovery as high as possible. Right now, you're going to get about 2k stam recovery. So that's really good. Moving on down to the weapons, though, we are running an infused or a powered offhand with a weapon damage enchant, and on the main hand, we're running infused with a stamina damage with stamina return. This is going to allow us to have really good stamina uptime and really good stamina damage. So this is just going to boost our damage capabilities, because we don't just stand there and spam heals. You're going to be doing attacks and stuff, but you're going to be doing certain attacks, and a lot of them are going to be ranged. But if you do need to get in close and heavy attack or something, you have this there for that. So, and then the weapon damage enchant. Moving on to the bow, though, we are running an infused bow with a weakening enchant. Weakening is really good with this setup. I don't know why it works out so well, but it's really good. So, all right. Now, moving on to these skills. Starting with the passives, make sure you get all of your class passives. It's really important for this build. Moving on to the weapons, we are using dual wield, so you do want to get all the dual wield passives and the bow passives. The reason for the dual wield passives is you want to get the dual wield expert, that's it, to increase weapon damage by 6% of your offhand's weapon damage, so you can boost your main hand's weapon, like your weapon damage overall. For that purpose, anything that you can do to boost your weapon damage, the better. So, moving on to the armor passives, you want the top 3 of the magic passives, you want all the medium armor passives, and you want all the top 3 of the heavy armor passives. Moving on to world skills. You can be a vampire with this or a werewolf. It's up to you. Werewolf, little tricky. Not going to lie, I have tested it. It is tricky. On to soul magic. Both of those are very important. And then on to guild stuff. Fighter's Guild. You want all of the Fighter's Guild passives for this. Moving on to the Mage's Guild, you only need Persuasive Will, and then Undaunted, you need the 2 Undaunted passives. Now, Assault, you want Echoing Vigor. You do not want Resolving Vigor. The reason you want Echoing Vigor is it will heal everyone for the same amount, and you're not healing yourself from needing to heal yourself for more, because you already heal for a ton with this ability. Racials. Now, this is the reason, there's a big reason why I chose Khajiit. First off, their Nimble passive increases health recovery and stamina recovery by 10%. That 10% plays really well into the stamina recovery we need for this build. Now, you can be a Wood Elf. They do play the build a little better when it comes to stamina recovery, but you don't get as high enough crit as you do with Khajiit, and that's because Khajiits get 8% more weapon damage. And that's the other reason why we're running dual daggers on the front bar. Alright, moving on to The other passives here, we want to get Medicinal Use. This is very important with all builds. You want to have Medicinal Use. And then Provisioning, Gourmand, and Connoisseur. With this one, this just improves the length your food lasts by 20 minutes, so you get 2 hours and 20 minutes instead of just 2 hours. And with Alchemy, you actually reduce the timer on the potions, so they last for 45 seconds, and you can recast them in 3 seconds later. So you can keep it up pretty well. You can keep your potions active constantly. Alright, now moving over the skills, starting with the first bar, we are using Sub-Assault. Sub-Assault does an amazing amount of damage, but it also applies Major Fracture to a lot of enemies. This allows for greater Stam DPS on trash fights, so you can clear trash a lot quicker if you can keep this applied every 5 seconds. Next up, kind of an unusual skill, but I do like this for this, and that is Ring of Preservation. You basically put a big circle in the ground. I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. You put a big circle in the ground, and you see the diameter of it. Anyone standing within this diameter, which is 5 meters, gains for 20 seconds. You get reduced dodge roll costs by 20%, minor protection, and minor endurance. So you increase your stam recovery by another 10%, and you also get 8% damage reduction. So this really plays well with a group in a stamina DPS setting, especially if you're playing in a dungeon group and it's all stam characters except for the tank. This really plays well. And if your tank doesn't have the 8% damage reduction, you're going to give that to them, and that's going to help their survivability just as much as your own. Moving on, we are using Deadly Cloak. This is to keep our weapon enchants applied. Mainly our weapon damage enchant. Now, because we're using a powered offhand, we have a lot of healing with this setup as it is. But this is going to improve our offhand's enchant proc, because this lasts for 15 seconds and it goes off every 3. So every roughly 8 seconds you're going to fire off your weapon damage enchant with having this up. This is going to improve your heals by a greater amount. Your total weapon damage with this build, just so you guys can see, so you want to keep your powerful assault up, but I'm going to go ahead and proc this just so you guys can see. It's 3,268 is our maximum weapon damage when we have this up with the other thing. So we actually get to about, 3,500 weapon damage. But that's without having this up, and having our pots up. Now when we go over here and we do this, if you watch, now we go to almost 4K weapon damage. With that 4K weapon damage, our heals are really high. So Vigor is going to hit for a lot. It's actually going to heal for a lot more than it looks. You're going to have 4K Vigors most of the time. As you can see, almost 4.5K almost. And then this, you can heal for like 11K. And if it crits, you can get this as high as 22,000. So this thing can hit for a lot more as well. I'm going to go ahead and buff up again. See if I can get that to crit heal. There you go. There's a 20K heal right there almost. 18. But if you have your weapon damage up, there you go. 20K heal on that. And it's just insanely powerful. So your Vigor is going to hit for about 4.5K. Just about 4.5. So it's a really powerful heal over time. And you're going to be using this a lot. You'll be using this to burst heal your group, and as you saw, it can get up to 20K. The closer you are to your allies, the more powerful the heal. So if you're within 8 meters, you actually heal for 15% more. So you want to stay up close and personal with your allies while you're healing them with this. The next skill we have is our main burst heal, and this is why we like that minor heroism, is because of Enchanted Forest. As you can see, This thing heals for 10,952 health, and then continues to heal for 3,652 health every 1 second for 6 seconds, and you generate 20 ultimate if the heal is used on a friendly target under 50% health. Usually I try to keep an eye out for that. If I see one of my allies needing it, boom, I pop it up, go right into my heals, keeping all of my buffs and everything up. Mainly because then that tree is going to heal for a lot more. So if I can keep all of my stuff going, and I can get my light attacks going, and just keep up my enchants and things like that, and like this, and then when my tree goes off, boom. Now you can see it healed for 14,000 up front, does 7,000 almost a tick. So this is a very powerful heal, and you're going to want that up as much as possible. That's why you need that ultimate enchant. Moving on to the back bar. The back bar is kind of like more of a ranged bar. It's not for something you're going to be using up close, but it is really good. But we are using focused aim. Now focused aim is really great because it's also going to apply minor fracture, which is going to increase your stam DPS even more. So if you're running with a group of all stam players through a dungeon, this is a really good setup, because that minor fracture you can keep up almost 100% along with major fracture between this and your subterranean assault. Next ability we have is Endless Hail. We have this here just to keep up our weakening enchant on our enemies. This helps reduce the damage that we take and the damage of our allies, so it really helps mitigate some damage. Next up, we do have Green Lotus. Green Lotus is a very powerful heal. Anytime you light attack or you heavy attack, you heal. You heal yourself or somebody else, and it also grants you major savagery. Really, you don't need a power pot for this build, but it's really nice to use the weapon damage or the power pot, because it does give you the weapon damage. It does give you that spell stam recovery, and it gives you that crit. Because you don't have your other abilities up all the time, you do want to keep your potion applied as much as possible along with your buffs here. So that way you get the constant of it, but you still get the other things. And you still want to keep an eye on things, because anytime, like I said, you light attack, you're going to heal. And as you can see, that Green Lotus heals for 3,032. If you have a good tank in your group, you can just pretty much stay off to the side and Vigor, light attack, and keep that up. As long as you're remembering to do this, you can pretty much have a consistent uptime of heals going off, just like this. So it's a really good build, and like you guys saw right there, I was just hitting skills. The main thing you want to do, though, let me finish up the skills here. So Green Lotus is mainly there for heals. Next up, we do have Bullnetch. Bullnetch is very, very, very powerful for you because it does give you major brutality. It does offer you major sorcery as well, but we mainly have this for the stamina recovery. The major brutality is nice because it does boost our heals through our stamina skills and everything, but our heals we want to hit for as much as possible. Next up, Expansive Frost Cloak. Really good for adding Major Warden, Major Resolve to you and your allies. Now this has a 28 meter radius, so anyone within 28 meters of you is going to get Major Warden, Major Resolve, increasing spell and physical resist by 5,280. This includes your tanks, your DPS, everyone. So anyone in that range is going to get this buff. As long as you keep it consistent, you can keep everyone's resistances pretty decently high. I mean, yours alone are going to be 19 or 18 and 18. So that gives you a lot better survivability in dungeons because it reduces the incoming damage that you and your allies take. Last but not least is Aggressive Warhorn. We have this here. This boosts max Magicka, max stam by 10% for 30 seconds. You also get Major Force, increasing critical damage by 15% for 9.5 seconds. Now, before anyone asks, what about using orbs with this build for giving resources? You can do that. You can drop Focused Aim and take Energy Orb if you want, but understand this, you will be burning through resources like crazy. I need to do something here because otherwise it won't stop. And I can't unequip anything, so I can't show you. But you can swap out energy orbs with this, so you can give a small dot heal, but you can also give resources. If you want to put something else there, or something else on this instead of like Green Lotus, you can use Blood Altar as well to get the heal from this. It's not wise to take either of these two abilities because they do cost magicka, and you do not have a high magicka recovery. So the trade-off really isn't worth it. And I don't know what it is, but for some reason this has been bugged out with the minor heroism. I can't come out of combat no matter what I do. The only way to break it is to log out. But yeah, that's the skills there, guys. And like I said, if you want to use like energy orbs, it's fine. You can put it on there to give resources. If you feel like you need something else with the build, you can use like the Nature's Vine. It's not very effective, honestly. It's not. It's not as effective as having this setup the way it is, but you can use it if you wanted to. Alright, now we're going to move on to CP, starting with the red tree. Here we have 66 in Ironclad. This reduces damage taken from direct damage attacks by 22%. Down here we have 9 into medium armor focus, giving us 907 extra physical resist. We have 9 into spell shield, increasing our spell resist by 907 as well. This is how we get better resistances overall, and you want better resistances, so you have greater survivability while you are up close and personal with the enemies. Now, moving on over here, we have 31 in thick skin. This reduces your damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. Then we have 56 into hardy and 56 into elemental defender. Now, remember that the Ring of Preservation gives you 8% minor protection? Well, that 8% does apply to both hardy and elemental defender. Now, hardy reduces physical, poison, disease damage, and as you can see, that's 12%. And this is flame, frost, shock, and magic damage by 12%. When you put down that Ring of Preservation, you actually go to 20% damage reduction here. Now, that 20% stacks with thick skin. So that goes up to 33% damage reduction from damage over time effects. Damage over time effects, by the way, are poison, fire, or burning, concussed, because concussed does do some small damage, or chilled, and then disease. Disease doesn't have a ticking damage, it just makes your character like sick to their stomach kind of thing. It's kind of weird, but yeah. And that's what this affects. Now, moving over here, Ironclad reduces direct damage taken. As you can see, 22%. That'll give you a 42% damage reduction when you have that Ring of Preservation down. And that applies to your allies as well. Now remember, when you have that Ring of Protection or Preservation down, your dodge rolls are also reduced. So you can dodge roll almost infinitely in here. Because of your stam recovery and everything, even with the increased cost to stam rolling, because every time you dodge roll, it costs you resources, and the more you do it, the more expensive it gets. But as long as you're within that circle, the better off you are. So it's a really important thing to have this. Alright, so moving on over here, we have 43 into quick recovery. This increases our own healing received by 10%. So some of those heals that you see are a little skewed because my healing received is higher, and I want that higher healing received so that way I can stay in the fight. No matter what, I do not want to be knocked out of a fight. So this allows me to stay in a fight longer because it allows my heals to hit me for more. Moving on over here, we have 56 in the Warlord. This reduces our break free cost by 20%. We have 23 into Sprinter. This reduces our sprint cost by 14%. And then we have 6 into Bashing Focus. We do bash every once in a while, not too often, but enough. Having that 4% reduced cost saves us resources. Now, moving on to the middle part of the green tree, we have 75 into Mooncalf. This increases stamina recovery by 14%. And yes, I have tested it now. I have done thorough testing with 1 more point and without 1 more point, and it's the same amount. It is no matter what, you are getting 14%. So with 75 or 76, your choice. Over here we have 43 into Tenacity. This increases our stamina return over fully charged heavy attacks by 10%. You're mostly getting most of your stamina back through recovery, but you do occasionally will have to throw a heavy attack out. So this will just help you boost that return just a little bit. Moving on over here, we have 56 into Tumbling, reducing our dodge roll cost by 20%. Saves us resources, tons of them. And then we have 11 into Shadow Word because we do block some attacks in some situations. This just allows us to do it and reduce the cost by a small amount. Moving on to the blue tree, 75 into Blessed. Yes, you do want 75 here. This will increase your healing done by 14%. So this boosts your healing even more. Now remember, we have 15 plus this. That is 29% healing done that we have. But if you incorporate the 2% we get from our monster set, that is another 2% on top of that. So we go to 31, and we actually go up to 33% healing done with all of the healing done passes we have. If we do happen to get Major Mending, though, that will boost our healing done to 56 or 57%. It's in some insane amount, and our heals will actually heal for a ton more than what they did before. Moving on to the middle tree, we do have 16 into Physical Weapon Expert. This just gives us 10% increase in our light and heavy attack damage, and then we have 23 into Master at Arms, boosting our direct damage done by 10%. This just allows us to do a little bit of extra a little bit of damage with our direct damage attacks. And then moving on over here, we have 43 into Mighty. This increases your physical, poison, disease damage by 10%. We have 66 into Precise Strikes. This is going to increase our critical heals and our stamina critical damage by 22%. We really want to boost that critical healing up. And then we have 40 into Thaumaturge, increasing our damage done with damage over time effects. Honestly, you don't really need this because you're not using any real damage over time effects. So you don't really need this if you don't want it. This is mainly here for if you do use, like, want to use Twin Slashes, or you want to use Poison Injection or something else to help with DPS in a dungeon, then you can use this. That's the only reason why it's unlocked. If you don't have that, I would suggest taking this up to 56. This as high as you could get, and maybe, you know, just take all this 60, put it in here, take the 7 out of here, just take this up to 100. That would be something you could do. Or take this up to 75. Because 75 is going to put you... I think it's at, like... 23% or something like that. So... And then you can take points and spread them out here if you want. Or you could put more into here to improve your damage, your physical damage. It's really up to you. But you don't really need this with the way this build is set up. The only reason why I said it is like I said it there. And you do notice a difference if you spread your points out in the damage that you can do, but you're not a damage dealer. So it really doesn't matter if you have that 40 points somewhere else, like spread out or whatever. But the way it's set up now, you heal for a ton anyways. So, but that is the CP, guys. That's the skills. That's the build, and that is the Moonlight Guardian. I really like this build, and have to say that I was really close to deleting one of my Wardens to make this, because I didn't realize how much I would love playing it. Because it is such a fun playstyle. I do not have this on live. I have something similar to this on live. I play a very similar build. But now that I've seen how this works, I really want to play this on live, so that way I get a really... just fun experience. I really enjoy this playstyle. So if you do like the playstyle, I'm going to tell you now, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me or other things by me, hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.